welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Tuesday edition of the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories From Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I hope you're having a wonderful night. I'm doing pretty well myself. It's been a busy day, but a good day nonetheless. I think that, every day can be an adventure, and today was no different. Apparently, well, I guess I should probably share this with you guys, but I'll do it after the intro is over. But I hope you guys are ready, because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories From Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thanks for being here. We are engaged and underway. I did want to show you guys something that was kind of cool. Now, I know that a lot of people, what I'm about to show you is doesn't qualify as paranormal or even controversial, but I don't think it's a real common occurrence, and it's one that I feel really fortunate to have experienced. And so what I'm going to do is show you what happened yesterday, and it was really cool, but I'm not going to tell you what it was. I'm just going to show you. What the hell is this? Yeah, this is mine. Hold on. I'm getting it. It just takes me a few minutes to scroll through all the things that apparently come up on my page feed regardless. I'm a little surprised that all this stuff comes up, but it seems to. So I thought I filtered my page a little better than this, but this is, of course, from my Brent Thomas Facebook page. But, oh, come on, you got to be kidding me. You know what? I'll just do this. Hold on. I think I'll do this. Hold on. I'm trying, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I was prepared. I am, of course, prepared for the show, but I decided just now at the last minute to show you guys this. So I do want to show you this, and this is what occurred at our house yesterday, and we do have it on video. So let me just get this for you guys. Wait. Okay, hold on. All right, this is going to be really loud, I guess. Oops. I'm going to have to cue the volume down a little bit. But I want to show you what occurred at my house yesterday. Not necessarily paranormal, but definitely cool and exciting. Well, I'll just show you, and you guys can be the judge. But let me see. Let me pull this up. I'm going to actually go to full screen on the other monitor here. So just a sec. No. This one. Okay, hold on. Here we go. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is my house yesterday. This is what occurred. This is my backyard, by the way. Whoops. Hold on.
They chew on something. Look at how big they are. Oh my gosh.
There's two moose in my yard, ladies and gentlemen. And as far as that really ratty fence, that's the neighbor's. That's not mine. I don't have much control over their fence, but that's a calf. That's like a year-old, maybe year and a half old moose calf, and he's well over, right in the 6 foot mark, 6 foot range, and he looks huge. But the mother is laying down, and you can see how absolutely enormous she is. Look at the head size. The head size is just incredible. Whoops, let me turn this down just a little. The head size is just amazing. But when you compare the two, and they're laying really closely together, you can see how much bigger her head is and how much bigger her body is than him. And he was enormous when he just walked by the window. But this is this is right in our yard outside the house. And there's, of course, me carrying the minion. My wife is filming, but we're looking at the two moose, and it's just incredible. And I thought, wow, how amazing is this? I mean, people feel fortunate if they're driving along the highway and see a moose, a few hundred yards out, and they get out their cameras, they pull over, and they snap pictures. And here I am at the house, and they're laying in my backyard. And they left me a few moose bombs but they should be okay to move by spring, I think. I'm not going to go out there and scrape them up. And apparently these same moose are still in the neighborhood today. The neighbors were saying they saw them walking around about 2 hours ago in the neighborhood here. So, but they haven't been back to my yard that I've seen. But yeah, this is out the back door, and that's the mother moose. Now the baby's already gotten up and moved around, but she is just huge. Now, if you look at this floor that we're standing on, you see the yard is down below. Now this floor that I'm standing on, and I'm about 5'10", 5'10 and a half. The floor that I'm standing on is 3 feet above the ground level that this moose is laying on. When this mother moose stands up and walks by the window, and I mean literally, she was like 2 feet away from me, looking at me in the window as she walked by. She was looking at me in the eye level. So this thing with its head up was about at the 8-foot range. These things are absolutely enormous, ladies and gentlemen. These animals. Now this is from my Minions YouTube page. But really, really cool. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I was really excited about it, and just thought it was a really cool experience. So I hope you guys appreciated that as much as I did. I know it's not paranormal related, but wow, I just thought it was really cool. So anyway, I don't even know if anybody said anything in the chat here. Oh yeah, there you are. The moose is loose. Exactly. So really cool experience, but they are just huge animals. These are the kind of animals that people in small cars run into them, and it knocks them down, but they get up and attack the car. It's not like they're a deer where you hit them and they're just all messed up. Moose get hit and they get up and come back. You know, they are so aggressive. And in fact, the female moose with calves the moose is every year kills more people than a grizzly bear. But than bears. So you can see how aggressive they can be, but these are just walking around the downtown area here in my hometown. So I just thought I'd share that with you guys because I felt like it was a really beautiful experience. So, all right, so back to the paranormal stuff. We got a few stories pulled up for you here today, so let me get to those. Oh, thank you. Really, really? Oh, no, she said Stuart. She said, love it, Stuart. Okay. I hope you guys don't mind, but I mean, it's just little things like that that just, I don't know. I find those experiences just magical. And of course, I just want to share them with people I love, and that means you guys. So that's why I brought it up. And it is posted on my Brent Thomas Facebook page. So if you want to see that again, go check it out. And you can, by doing that, you'll be checking out my Minions channel, and you can see other videos of him being adorable, which is what he does. But anyway, let's get on with this. Oh, that's funny. Oh, yeah, God, you're right, Sarah. Sarah says that's why it's funny when people think they can pet them. Yeah, there are those people that think they're going to go out and feed them carrots and stuff. And no, you're just going to end up all kinds of messed up or dead doing that. So you can't play around with these things. They are enormous, and they are incredibly aggressive if they feel threatened. They have no problem stomping you into pudding. So... oh, thank you, lady. Good to see you, by the way. And Diana and Deb and Pat and Sarah and Ken. And let's just pull up the participants here and see who's here. Oh, we got a full house. Danny, Deb, Diana, Haxer, Haska Tice. Nice to see you. I don't think I've met you before, but thanks for coming in and checking out the show. Lady Death, of course, is here. Louis Taz here. Matthew Learned, Nadine, Omi Nalani, aloha. I'm here. Pat's here, really, really. Sarah Snyder and Stuart Nelson. Good to see you, Stuart. And Ken again. So thank you guys for those of you that are in here chatting. And if there's more of you just kicking back and relaxing, thank you as well for being here. And thank those of you who watch it after it's live. I mean, I'm just honored that you check out the shows when you can. It's certainly being here for the live episodes isn't a requirement, but it's just really cool to have a chance to meet you guys. So thanks for being here. Let's get to these stories. Now, the first one is coming out of Tennessee. And this one is, I was home with a friend, and I'd only been in Tennessee for about a month, and I'd been staying in a really old home, and the rumor was that an old man had lived there and had killed himself over his one true love. That's sad. People said he would wreck your home late at night if you were awake. Me and Lori, my friend, were determined to find out if that was true, so We shut off all the lights and sat in the kitchen eating and watching television. While we were watching Most Haunted, we heard real scary voices coming into the kitchen. Lori, of course, was crying and not a happy camper, and she said she could see him and that he was a hideous type of demonic creature. I thought she was just playing a really sick joke, and then a picture of my mom fell, and my mom had died of cancer, and then we saw a demonic creature in the form of a devil. I got scared, and everything started to come off the shelves, and then he disappeared, and we knew that he would stop. Everything fell, and all was calm. After picking it all up, we went into her house, and we didn't see anyone, so I never stay up past 11. It was so scary. Could anyone help me with this? This is my first time I've experienced this. I need help. If you know what it could be, please tell me. Well, I'm going to go with, if you saw it and it looked like a demon, maybe a demon. It's not really funny, but it's like, it sounds like you got a real negative apparition of some kind or entity that's in your house. Whether or not it's actually a demon, I don't know. It's widely believed that spirits can be perceived however they choose to be. So it's possible that a spirit's really mad and just wants to terrify you, so it looks like a demon. Doesn't mean it's a demon, but I wouldn't risk it. I'd make sure to get someone over to do some exorcism and blessings of the house, and hopefully that would get rid of it. That's just the kind of haunting you don't want to play around with. I mean, if it appears negative, it appears angry, you get a sick feeling in your stomach, especially when you smell like burning or sulfur or just really rotten smelling stuff. That's real commonly accompanying demonic presences. And if you're experiencing that or just a really aggressive haunting, don't play around. Get someone in there that's a professional, and whether it's a priest or a shaman or some other psychic that deals with real negative presence. Get a hold of them and see if they'll help you out. It's just not the kind of thing you want to mess around with. Don't try to get EVPs. Don't engage it. Don't encourage conversation. And here's why. If you're dealing with a really negative haunting, there's a belief in the paranormal community that you don't investigate your own house. Even if weird things are happening, you don't investigate your own house. The reason being is that when you're sitting there with a micro recorder and saying, "Is there anybody there? If somebody's here, please tell us your name. If somebody's, why are you here? What do you want?" You are encouraging an engagement. So basically, you are giving something permission to interact in your home. Now, by doing that, you are opening a door for this spirit or this presence to become more realized within your home. Now, it's possible when these things start, they don't have a whole lot of power in your home because they're not. There might be some kind of barrier that needs your permission to become more haunting and more powerful. So, by doing research like that, by investigating your own home, you are opening more of a gateway, encouraging their participation. And that is a form of a surrender in a sense. That doesn't mean you're going to be possessed, but it does mean that you're encouraging something to participate with you. And by doing that, you are granting a permission of sorts. So don't investigate your own home. If you feel it's a negative haunting, you have negative experiences, you've perceived a negative entity, get someone in there that can take care of it. Don't try to investigate it. Don't encourage its participation. Don't put up cameras and things to try to catch it. I understand the attraction of doing that. I really do. But again, if you're putting up a camera, you have an intention. You have an intention to catch something on a camera. Now, that's debatable whether that's actually offering a permission. But I'm just saying, you're juggling with something potentially horrible, potentially lethal and dangerous to every member of your family, including pets and everything. If it is indeed, a truly evil presence. And so if you put out a camera, you're trying to capture something and you're hoping you can capture something. Some people hope they won't capture something, but part of a mild form of defense against hauntings is to ignore it. It is to just not acknowledge it. And by doing that, you are creating a barrier of sorts. You're not acknowledging it. You're not empowering it. You're not recognizing its presence in your home. Even though you hear it and you experience it, there are many that believe that by ignoring it, a lot of milder hauntings will just go away. Because in some cases, these not necessarily negative presences, but mischievous presences, they want a reaction. So when you ignore it, it's not a lot of fun. It's like a child that's acting out. You ignore it, and perhaps it'll just go away. Go on to some other house where it has a lot more fun, if it is more of a trickster kind of thing. So keep that in mind. Take it or leave it. I'm just throwing it out there. These are bits and pieces of information I've collected over the years. I offer them to you at face value. If you feel that they have meaning, then use them, and if you feel that they're bunk, ignore them. But I'm doing my job here. So let's get to the next one. Next one is coming out of California, where it's probably a hell of a lot warmer than here. Just saying. All right. I lived in, where the hell is that? Garinville? Guerneville, in the late 90s, and I saw a man standing in my hallway. It was about 2 a.m., and I was using the bathroom, and when I walked out of the bathroom, I saw my husband, Mike, standing at the end of the hall. He's completely dressed in a t-shirt, hooded sweatshirt that's zipped up, knee-length shorts, and sneakers. And I asked him, Mike, what are you doing? Well, Mike answered me from our bedroom immediately to my left. I screamed that there was a man in the house. Mike jumped out of bed, grabbed his gun, and we walked the house, and every window and door was locked from the inside, and there was no trace of anyone in the house. My girlfriend Jackie spent Thanksgiving with us a couple years later and slept overnight on our couch, and my mother came over at about 11 a.m. and asked how we slept, and Jackie said, great, until Mike came in at 7 a.m. and sat on the sofa to put his shoes on. Mike happened to be walking in the room just then and responded, I just woke up, and I wouldn't sit where you were sleeping and put my shoes on. I would sit on the love seat or the dining chair. Needless to say, all our jaws dropped open. Another time, my son, who was 2 years old at the time, said he saw a man in his room, and he was terrified. Pale white, terrified, and I was alone with him, so we walked the house with my gun, and there was no one around. I believe he saw someone, though. No one can fake the bloodless, pasty white face of fear. Why would a spirit appear to my girlfriend and me as Mike and then appear as themselves, or someone else for all I know, to my little one? Maybe so we as adults would acknowledge their presence? Wow, I just got done talking about something like this. And I swear to God, people, I don't read these stories before I do the show, and that might seem real amateurish and and silly, but honestly, I like to read them with you and then discuss them. But this is just what we just discussed, or what I just discussed with you, I guess, I just love how things flow like that. It just always really, I don't know. I love the serendipity or the synchronicity of those kind of things. Cool story, though. The next one's coming out of Georgia. Everything all started when I was about 13 years old, and I saw what I thought was a shadow figure with red eyes in the backyard. When I was 15-year-old, I saw a white orb pass my mother's room to my room, out the window to my next-door neighbor's house. It freaked him out so bad he fell in his toy box. It freaked who out? I guess the neighbor. I don't know. The neighbor has a toy box. And when I was 18 years old, I heard a voice calling my name sometimes when I was at home alone. I was at school when it happened again, and this time it said, "Come with me." Of course, I shrugged it off because I thought my mind was playing tricks with me. On November 8th of 2004, my grandfather passed away, and that day I was supposed to die too because I got sick with a high fever. And I was told by my mother to lay down on the couch, but I said I couldn't do it because I was going to die if I lied down. That was 8 p.m. when this happened, and my grandfather passed away at the same time that I got to my worst. I was crying so bad because it hurt at that time. My mother decided to call my dad, who was up with my grandfather, and my dad got worried about me also because I was really sick and he thought I might die too. Later, my mom told me that my grandfather passed away, and I cried so much because I was so connected to him. Later that night, while I cried myself to sleep, I saw this shadow figure next to me, and it sat on my bed, and I quietly slept. I thought to myself that it was my grandfather trying to cheer me up, and I started hearing more voices calling my name. Now, I'm 20 years old, and every once in a while, I would hear voices and coughing like it was an old man, and I've been possessed by a demon for a while, but I kicked it out of my body because I'm very strong in spiritual power. I was born with it, and I got rid of it. Wow, that's pretty great. If you're able to kick out a possession, that's pretty powerful. Good for you, I guess. That's pretty amazing. That's a very, very tough thing. That's double tough. All right. The next one is Michigan. When I met my friend Kristen, I'll admit I thought she was a little crazy. When she told me she had a ghost that was living with her in her room, and so I decided I would prove her wrong by spending the night in her room with her. And as we got ready for bed, nothing strange had happened, so I thought that there was no way that something could happen. And we sat up for a while and we were telling stories, and that was when something strange happened. The whole night my hair had been down, and there was no fan blowing, but I felt what I presumed to be a human hand slide under my hair and caress the back of my neck, flipping my hair out as it pulled away. I almost ended up in my friend's lap due to my fear. Then, to my amazement, my friend reprimanded the ghost, and it never bothered me again as long as I was there. A short time later, I found out that the small town she lived in was built on an old Indian burial ground, and after that, most of the town had burnt down except for 2 houses, both of which still are standing to this day, and belonged to other friends of mine, and I'd slept in both of them, and one of them being an old funeral home, and I always had the eerie feeling that I was being watched, and that feeling increased when my friends and I used a Ouija board at Kristen's house. Yeah, geez, that's not the time you want to whip out a Ouija board, is when you're sleeping in the house that was on an Indian burial ground. Eesh. Well, I guess they ended up okay, but still creepy. All right, what's next? So the next one's coming out of Texas, ladies and gentlemen. And this one's a little longer. This should be good. I got to see how long we're at. Yeah, I'm going to have to probably pull up more stories, but that's okay. I'm 15 years old, and I'm from Houston, Texas, and I'm kind of freaked out here. This is all very new to me, and I have never talked about this with anyone. My story began when I was about 6, and I had a really scary dream. My dream began with this tall teenage Hispanic guy with black hair, just like me. And the young guy was in a house walking down a hallway when out of nowhere at the end of the hallway there was a malicious-looking woman staring straight at him. As soon as he got a glimpse of her, he ran away, but when he started running off, he fell hard towards the ground and was holding his ankle and looked like he was in pain. I would have that dream at least one time every month until I was 12. This is the scary part. Just last year, me and my family moved to a new house, and it was a nice house, but I had a really terrible feeling about that house. Everything was quiet for a day or two, and I started having weird cold chills going up my spine when I would move to a certain part of the house, and I'd get cold all of a sudden, and I felt like I was being watched pretty much all of the time. One time after school, I was really tired and headed for bed, and I was making my way down the hall when I saw a woman. And she gave me a really evil presence kind of feeling, and so I ran straight out of the house and waited outside till my old man got home. I didn't tell him about the experience, but that next day, I remember me and one of my homeboys came over to my house right after school to play soccer. And while we were playing soccer, he asked me, "Hey, who's that lady watching us from the window?" And as I turned around, I saw the same woman from the hallway staring at us from the window. And as soon as I saw her, the next thing I know, I fell straight to the ground and I had twisted my ankle. Then I remembered the dream I had when I was little. But here's the dream that I'm really scared of. It starts out with a man getting in a car and driving around what appears to be the Astro Stadium in Houston, and that's where I live. And he drives in the parking lot of the stadium to park his car, and when he gets out, a car parks right in front of his. Then a dark figure calls out, "Stop!" As soon as the man turns around, he gets shot right in the chest as he's trying to keep himself up. The dark figure gets into the car, and in the passenger seat is the same woman that I saw in the hallway. Now, I'm pretty sure this man in the dream is me because we look so much alike. What do you guys think? Do you think this is my fate? I've had so many dreams like this. For example, I had a dream of a car wreck in front of my house and with a woman screaming, "David, oh my God, David." And sure enough, it happened. A guy named Davy Green collided his car with a big moving truck and had a broken neck, broken ribs, and a broken collarbone. And I know David myself, and he lived about 4 houses down, and I didn't know him until after I had that dream. So y'all, please, I need to find out if that is fate or whose fate is it, because I had that dream at least 20 times this year. And that's the only parts of the story, I guess. Yeah, there's no more. I don't know. Hope not, for this person's sake. I don't know. Premonitions are pretty tough to dial in. But I guess it could be. All right. They say Lincoln dreamed of seeing himself in a coffin in the White House before he passed. So, and as soon as, of course, he was shot at the Ford Theater by Booth, and they did display his body in a coffin in the White House. So was that a premonition? Can some people see their fate? I don't know. That'd be pretty disturbing. I think it's better not to know. Maybe. I don't know. That's a tough one. Would you want to know when you were done? Would you want to know when the time was up? Or would you want to have visions of how it was going to end? I don't think I would. I think I'd rather just be surprised. I don't think it would be fun to live with that knowledge personally, but you'll have to let me know in the comments what you guys think. Would you want to know how you're going to die? It's the one journey we're all going to make. Makes me wonder. But nah, I think I personally, I'd rather it was a surprise. So this one's coming out of Ohio. I live in Boardman, Ohio, and there are three stories that I've had since summer of 2000 that I'd like to explain. And don't doubt my memory either. I remember everything exactly perfectly, and I'm 100% sure that all of this is accurate. I want to post it to see if anyone else has had anything similar happen. I know it's a lot, but just read one of the 3 bullets if you don't want to read a lot. Number 1, one summer night. This is the first incident that made me actually consider the possibility that what we call ghosts actually do exist. I was in my basement around 9 p.m. playing a keyboard facing the wall, and I saw something out of my peripheral vision walking towards me. I could see all the features of a human, a head, arms, legs moving bilaterally, and even the walking motion was slightly exaggerated. It walked right up and stood next to me as if it was trying to get my attention non-verbally, and when I looked, of course, nothing was there. I was a little disturbed, but eventually just shrugged it off. Now later that same night, around 1 a.m., I was sitting on the computer in the dining room for quite some time, and everyone else was asleep, and I'd been sitting still for about an hour and a half, and I got up to use the bathroom, and when I returned, I passed the desk I was sitting at and headed for the kitchen, and this is when I realized that the fan was moving very slowly, as if someone just tapped it a second ago. It was moving the wrong way, and things became creepy at this point. I then heard an overabundance, more than usual anyway, of little noises all over the house that night, like the house settling. The second story is someone in my room. This began in the earlier part of 2002, well, I guess let's say March. My parents and I were the only ones living in my house at the time, and while I was in bed that night, I would hear a noise every once in a while that sounded as if someone was standing across from my room, digging their foot into the carpet. It was a scraping or rubbing noise, and just rub your foot back and forth on your carpet to see what I mean. The scraping sound varied in duration and forcefulness, and sometimes it was really loud and fast, and other times it was much more subtle and slow. That would happen almost every night for about 2 months, and during these 2 months, a few other things happened that were even stranger. One night, I heard something slide across my floor very quickly, making the same carpet friction sound, and ran into my bed. My bed shook. Another night, I heard someone dance or hop down the hallway, hitting a squeaky spot on the floor several times. I'm sure it wasn't another member of the family just getting up, and I would have heard my parents' door open. It's really loud. And another night, I was just laying there listening to the usual feet scraping when something hit my dresser really hard. Imagine kicking your dresser as hard as you can with shoes on. I even heard the dresser's knobs dingle. Dingle. It's a funny word. Remember, this was right next to me, 5 feet away, and I was very scared and I couldn't move. Then about 10 minutes later, someone knocked on my window twice. I still hear the carpet friction once in a while, anyway, in the house to this very day. The third story is loud bang, and this happened in 2003. I was sitting in the basement on the computer late at night, and everyone else was sleeping, and I then heard a really loud bang on the floor upstairs that came from the dining room. I immediately went upstairs to the location and found nothing out of the ordinary. It seemed to me as if something had picked up the desk chair in that room and dropped it from about a 2-foot height, which is loud. It was the only object in the room that could have made this noise. These 3 incidents are the main stories that I have, and there are several smaller things that happened to me. Things had fallen off the shelves many times over the years, and the toilet sometimes would flush on its own, and other people who visited my house, friends and cousins, etc., reported seeing black balls floating around my basement. A girl I was watching TV with, one night, told me that while I was in the bathroom, someone walked down the steps, who she thought was me, but apparently nobody was there. Another person once saw a human shape walk past him in the mirror in the basement. When our dog died, each of us, my parents and I, heard the same bark, just once, come from inside the house the very next day. If you're reading this and are thinking, wow, that happened to me, then please let me know. I'd like to know if someone else had any of this before. Sure, pretty much everything you've said. Some other people have experienced. That's the thing with ghostly interactions and stuff. They're not usually really unique. I mean, they all seem to follow the same pattern. They make noises.
Congress.
The ghost things finally spoke. I think it said Congress. It did say Congress. I don't know. Is something going on politically that we should know about? The ghost box is saying Congress. So, it hasn't said anything for a very long time. So, if anybody knows anything about Congress going on right now, this is February 19th, 2019 at 7:37 p.m. Pacific time. Check it out. I don't know. My ghost box finally said something after months of not saying anything, or at least weeks and weeks. But huh. But most hauntings are the same way. They just have a tapping noise, some little things, and maybe they're just judging for reaction. Like, do they notice me now? I don't know that any of these events were scary. I can't say I don't know if they were scary. Clearly, they would be frightening to somebody, but I don't know that they're malicious. You know, and all I can say is, of course we get startled. Everybody gets startled. It's just human nature. But when you feel true evil, you feel it to your bone. You feel it in your stomach. It's like a nauseous feeling, like you're in the presence of something that is just completely corrupt and vile. And you feel it when you're near pure evil. So many investigators have reported walking into a room or a location and feeling that sick feeling in their stomach, like something was just wrong. Nothing was right about a location. And I think that's, as I've said many times, I think we all have that extrasensory perception. We all do. We have these senses that we don't normally use, but something very powerful and profound can trigger them, even to people that don't normally sense much of anything. I know that my intuition using that kind of sense has really helped me on many occasions. I used to work in corrections, and there were many times something felt absolutely wrong. And I always listened to my intuition. I always listened to my gut. In fact, working in corrections was the first job I had ever had. Now, I was only in my 20s when I was working there, but I always had these strong vibes about things. And it was the first job I ever had where they said, if something doesn't feel right, pay attention to it. So it was the first job that I ever had that validated that we do pick up things that don't always make sense. We do pick it up. We do perceive things that may not have much meaning, but you got to pay attention to them. And once you start following those feelings, you start finding what's wrong. Now, that happened to me on many times. You have that bad feeling, and you stick with it, and all of a sudden you found out something was going on. In one instance, I'll just relay a small story with you guys, because I think it's important to share my experiences as well. I can't have a show and just say, hey, you guys contribute, but I'm going to sit here and just listen. So when I have things that seem to play into the discussion, I'll certainly share them. But one instance, and I can't tell you why. I can't tell you what it was that triggered me. But essentially, I went into a living unit. I was working on the security patrol, and I was working juvenile corrections. So it was teenage boys. And when I say that, don't get the impression that it's much less than adult corrections. Usually juvenile corrections was much more dangerous because on the juvenile level, they don't have the adult consequences. They still, for the most part, are facing juvenile consequences for actions. So there's much more likely to have violent incidents in juvenile corrections than there are in adult corrections, just for the sake of the discussion. But I walked into this living unit. It was my job to travel around to different living units, and we had these units. There were different separate buildings within their facility that were set up like cottages. They called them cottages, but they were living units with roughly 60 beds each and a couple staff, or 3 or 4 staff per unit. And as the security patrol, I would have to drive around and check into these living units and see how things were going. And I was on the patrol, and I walked into this one unit, and I no sooner got in the door and locked it when it just hit me like a ton of bricks, like, boom, something's really wrong. And I just looked around the room and started just looking around to see what was going on. Nothing really out of the ordinary, except there was a group of residents sitting around one table, and that I knew that was where that feeling was coming from, like something is really wrong. And I stuck with it, and I stayed there. And I called the other patrol, let them know something was up, and you know, we all kind of coalesced into that one living unit, and we really made sure the unit was secure. And hours went by, and other staff agreed something didn't feel right when they came in to check it out, and so, but the night ended uneventful, and nothing happened. Well, I went home. I used to work the late night, so and the next day when I came into work, my supervisor pulled me aside and said, you know, you stopped something there. And I said, well, what happened? He said, well, there was a group of kids, and it turned out to be the kids around that table that I was talking about. They were planning, there was a female staff working solo that night, and they were planning on assaulting her, taking her keys, getting any weapons they could, kidnapping her, escaping, and you know, getting out to the community, and trying to get away. But God knows what would have happened to this woman. And it was just really cool validation, and I was really thankful for that extra sense that, you know, just something hit me as soon as I walked in. No, something's wrong. And sure enough, it was, it very well may have saved her life. I don't know. And I'm not taking a bow here. I'm not trying to say that, you know, look at what a great thing I did. It wasn't really me. It was just me picking up on something. And I'm just using this story to demonstrate we all have these abilities. How many of you have ever walked into a bad area or found yourself in a bad situation, and you knew it more than you saw it? You just felt it. And so you listen to your gut and you get the hell out of there, you know. Some people don't listen to their gut, and then they found out why they had the bad feeling. So I think it's all there. I think we all have it. But when you're in the presence of evil, I believe that it's so powerful. If it's a profound enough evil, even people that don't normally get these kind of impressions will pick up that there's something really wrong going on. So anyway, I believe that's going to be the show for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, being a part of our Paranormal Portal family. You guys are amazing. And again, if you want to help keep the portal, keep the portal growing and running, you can always donate, paypal.me/paranormalportal. If you're able. If you're not able, then just keep participating, keep sharing the word, spread the word, let people know about the show. That certainly helps just as much. So I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out. And little by little, maybe we'll make this world a much better place. But you guys have a wonderful night, and I will see you tomorrow night with Dawn, who will be joining me, and we'll just see what we can get into tomorrow night here on the portal for the 2-hour show here on YouTube only. And remember, 7 days a week, 7 p.m. Pacific time, there's a portal happening live here on our YouTube channel. So, but you guys have a great night. Take care, and sweet dreams. Where the hell's my credits? There they are. Wasn't as graceful an exit as I was working for. But anyway, guys, have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow night.